Good morning. We are continuing the 20th letter that the Alter Rebbe wrote in igeros hakodesh, and we are deep into a Kabbalistic conversation, to say the least. Different parts of Tanya have different styles. Some things feel a little bit more practical. Some things feel woo. So here we are. We are deep into this Kabbalistic ladder, and so let's do our best. Okay, so essentially, what the discussion that we're having now is, if everything is Hashem, there's nothing outside of Hashem. We don't believe in duality in any sense of the word. Like, we believe that Hashem Echad, Hashem is one. We close our eyes, we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. And yes, in order to connect to that one, it says I have to close my eyes, because I look at this world and I see many individualized things. But I can take a moment and contemplate how in truth Hashem is the one unifying life energy behind all of it. So Hashem Echad. So what we want to understand is, when does it stop being creator and stop being creation? When does it stop being God and just start being godliness? When does that separation happen between creator and creation? Of course, there's still one, but we're not going to call, a tree God. It's part of Hashem. It's Hashem's creation. Hashem creates it from His essence, but it's not creator. So when does that happen? So here's the question: am I tall? It depends, right? Am I short? It depends relative to, if someone's way taller than me, then they're going to say I'm short. And a little kid is going to say, you're so tall. Yeah, it's all relative. And so really, Kabbalah, we have lots of words for levels. Bechinas, Drega, we have lots of ways of expressing like the idea of levels. And, in every culture, whatever's important to it, there seems to be a lot of words. For example, they say Eskimos have 200 words for snow, because it's important for them to know, is it, good snow? Is it snow you're going to sink through? Is it wet snow? Is it snow that can't go, get inside? You got to know what kind of snow it is. You can't just say snow in that culture. So here, in our culture of Kabbalah over here, we need a lot of words for levels, because really it's all about perspective. It's all about levels. Depending on where you're standing in the spiritual cosmos, so to speak, that's going to decide if you view something still as just God, or now as godliness. Okay. So for example, in the world of Atzilus, we have the light, the energies, and then we have the vessels. Yeah, so it's not really light and energy inside. We kind of picture it as these 10 different circles. Okay, and so the light energy, we say that's just Hashem. That's just Ein Sof, just Hashem's energy. And but then the vessels, right? So that's, no, I'm making a mistake. Even what we call godliness, we don't call it a creation yet. Creation is something that begins to feel its own independent existence. That's more it. So we're not trying to figure out what's God versus godliness. We're trying to figure out what's creator versus creation. That's what we're trying to figure out. Okay. So the vessels in Atzilus, they compared to that light, they are like a creation, because the light is just Hashem's pure light. Versus that's godliness. Versus the vessel takes on an identity of whatever it is. So Chesed has the identity of kindness. Gevurah has the identity of boundaries. Tiferes has the identity of beauty and balance. Whatever vessel it is, it has a certain identity, and therefore it seems more like a creation when compared to the light. So, but then, according to the next world, the world of Bria's light is created by what? The vessels of Atzilus. The inner aspect of the outer chitzonius aspect of one world, now becomes the inner panemius aspect of the next world. So therefore, from Bria's perspective, that the second spiritual world here that we're talking about, it's oh, of course Atzilus is all just godliness. No, it's Hashem. Versus compared to us, we're such a yesh, because we are actually seems like so much more of a creation, because even their light is from the vessel of Atzilus, not from the light of Atzilus. And so it depends where you're standing, Seder Stalshalas. Basically, that's the idea. The difference between when something goes from creator to creation, if you see it as godliness or creation, that really depends on the perspective in the spiritual cosmos. But we definitely say that Bria Yetzira is the beginning of Yish, beginning of something that feels its own independent existence, beginning of creations. Okay, so something interesting is that we talk about our soul having 3 levels, really 5, but 3 ones we mainly talk about is those ones that exist within our body. And that's nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The nefesh is the part of the soul that enlivens the physical part of our body. There's the ruach, which is the emotional aspect of our soul, and there's the neshama, which is the intellectual aspect of our soul. And there's the transcendent unity, will, faith, pleasure aspect of our soul. So light also has 3 parts. So just as our neshama has these 3 parts of nefesh, ruach, and neshama, so too light has a higher part, a middle part, and a lower part. And this is also called the head, body, and legs of light. And the lights we're talking about are the lights of the spheros that are within these different vessels in each world. And so that what happens is that the neshama aspect of the light then goes and creates the ruach, and goes and creates the neshama, the nefesh. And then that nefesh part of the light is it's like a condensed down version of that neshama light. Okay, so just as like the light of the higher part of our souls also fills the light of our body, but it's a condensed light. And so from the nefesh's aspect of the light, the neshama is like godliness. It's so high, right? But from the nefesh level of the higher sphere, that neshama level looks low. So really, we're just saying that everything in the spiritual cosmos, whether it's all very idle differences, and it's all perspective on where you're standing and if something seems more godly or not. Okay, so now the spheres of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya are created from the 30 vessels of Atzilus. So why are we saying the 30 vessels of Malchus of Atzilus? Because now every single one of those 10 spheros of Malchus of Atzilus, right, Chachma of Malchus, Bina of Malchus, they all have 3 aspects. So 10 times 3 equals 30. So what happens with these? These now come, the vessels of Malchus of Atzilus, the lowest aspect of Malchus of Atzilus now come, and it creates the inner divine light within the vessels of the lower world. So right, so the outermost aspect of one world now becomes the innermost aspect of the next world. Right, the nefesh of one level now becomes the neshama of the next level. So, in the world of Atzilus, these vessels are relatively speaking godliness, relatively speaking to the lowest, the world below it, which is Bria. And from here, from the world of Atzilus, I said, we're talking Kabbalah today. That's what we're holding in Tanya, okay? This is not like practical application. It's more of a tripper's type of journey in Tanya right now. But what's more practical than Kabbalah? So, what's created from the vessels in Atzilus is also these hechalot, these chambers, and also these igulim, which are basically circular energies of the 10 spheres. Usually you see those drawings of the 10 spheros in those like 10 different circles, that tree of life. And so that's created from the outer aspect of the vessels. And also within those hechalot, within those chambers, exist angels. But these angels, relatively speaking to the higher part of Atzilus, the light of Atzilus, these are called a yesh, because they're not completely nullified to Hashem's light. And so each thing, like from one thing, it looks like looking down, it looks like a creation, and looking above, it looks like it's just a godliness. And so when's the difference between creator and creation? When does it actually happen? Okay, for sure by Bria of the second lower world. That's where we say, okay, that is what we call a yesh. That's what we call creation. But looking up, but in Atzilus, there's also higher aspects of Atzilus and lower aspects of Atzilus. And in the higher aspects of Atzilus, it seems just like godliness. And lower aspects where there's angels, because angels are not completely just one with Hashem. There's some servants, and they trip out because they see their source, but not completely one with Hashem. And really, we talk a lot in davening about, angels tripping out. And what is this idea? Is because they see their source. Like we look around this physical world, and we don't see our source. But wouldn't that be the most incredible thing if you could experience yourself being created yesh ma'ayin, experience yourself being created something from nothing, and then one would completely feel their source. But even more than this, Hashem didn't create the world like that we don't trip out on our source. And the reason we said is because we're created yesh ma'ayin, something from nothing. But what's ayin? It doesn't really mean nothing. It means from Hashem's essence, which to us is like nothing, because I can't understand that with my intellect. It's like, for me, my intellect is like nothing. But really, we're cut from the cloth of infinity. We're cut from the cloth of Hashem's essence. And from that place of Hashem's essence, there's no origin. Hashem's originless. And therefore, Hashem's like the true existence. And because I'm created from that, and this bookshelf is created from that mountain, everything physical is created from Hashem's essence. Like we said, you can't go spiritual, chicken. No matter how much you contend spiritual light, you're never going to get something physical. And therefore, Hashem creates something physical just from His essence alone. And therefore, why do I feel like I always existed? Come from myself. Okay, yeah, I was born, but really, we feel like we always existed. Where does that come from? It's because we come from the Yesh Hamitis. We come from Hashem's essence. We come from this true existence. And that's why you look at a chair, and the chair is like, what's up? I've always been here. I created myself. Like, it just screams that it has its own existence. Versus, like, things in the higher worlds, they don't look like that at all. You can see the light pouring into them. You can see how they're being created from something higher. You can see this, like, cause and effect reality from level to level. Here, you don't see this cause and effect reality. You see, I'm here. I always existed. It has this feeling of, like, this ego. Like, I exist. And connecting that ego with the true ego, so to speak, with Hashem's true existence, with that true capital I. And when we do that, we take this fake feeling of independence, and we connect it with Hashem's true essence, and now we have this true feeling of this unity of being one with Hashem's essence, and still this feeling of I exist, but I know I exist. Why? Because I come from Hashem's true existence. And that is a very stable, a very confident place to live from knowing that my existence comes from Hashem's essence. That's the true independent feeling that a person can have from a created yesh ma'ayin, something from Hashem's ayin, something from Hashem's essence. Thank you so much for joining, Vanessa, and my dear, dear mother. Well, it's late for you. Thank you so much for joining. You should have a beautiful morning. For those who are, it's morning. You should have lots of cool Kabbalistic dreams about this for those who are going to sleep. Thank you so much.